Underground Railroad in this area. Now, I know you just read about Finney, Seymour Finney, this white man who was an abolitionist and was an ally of black people. But what I want you to understand about We Are Our Own Heroes, this tour, is that in Detroit, in most cities too, but definitely in Detroit, Underground Railroad, the abolitionist movement was led by black people, not led by white people. Generally, when we think of abolitionism and the Underground Railroad, we think of a story of white saviors, white people saving black people. But that is not the truth. Definitely in Detroit, it wasn't the truth. The Underground Railroad was run by black people. And the person who ran the Underground Railroad operation in this area was George Dolison, not Seymour Finney. Seymour Finney was an ally, not the leader in this section. George Dolison was the leader. It was him who transported black people from one place to the other. It was him who hid the black people in Finney's barn. And we find out about George Dolison not because George Dolison told us. We don't find out about George Dolison because Seymour Finney told us. Neither one of them told us anything about what they did. Seymour Finney's son, Jared Finney, one of the first United States prosecutors, who the school is named after. Finney High School was named after Jared Finney, Seymour Finney's son. There is no such thing as Finney High School no more. It's East English Village Preparatory Academy now. But Jared Finney tells us about George Dolison and his father. And when he writes the memoir of what his father was doing, he tells us about both of them at the same time. So once people find out about what Finney did, they find out about what George Dolison did. But there's nothing over there about George Dolison. There's only something about Seymour Finney. Because when that was built, that was during the time of revisionism of African American history, of black history. And during that time, you had the movie Roots had come out. You had a lot of people who was talking about, these white people were racist. They was enslaving black people. And historical societies all over the country went around trying to find white heroes to present. So they could say, yeah, slavery was bad, but here's some people who was good. And that was when the one we're about to go to now, that historical marker was built during that period of time to make a hero of Seymour Finney, and he is a legitimate hero, but it leaves out George Dolison.
It's a way that, like you said, a revisionist, you tell a half-truth.
Right.
So,
can you imagine okay, so you got slave catchers coming here, and you got Seymour Finney on a wagon, a white man, taking black people around, because they coming from the South. They don't know their way around. They need him. Can you imagine how that would look? Slave catchers would be like, what? He's an Underground Railroad operative. Let's get them black people. But if black people are walking around with other black people, that won't attract as much attention. So it was George Dolison who's running this, not Seymour Finney. But Seymour Finney was a hero and an ally of black people. So we can't take that away from him, but at the same time making him the hero here when he was following the leadership of black people who ran the Underground Railroad in Detroit. You telling the untruth.
So one was black and one was
George Dolison was black, and he ran this program right here. And Seymour Finney was his ally, who owned the barn. And it wasn't a railroad. Now I know I probably don't have to say that to y'all, but I've done tours where I actually have to say that.
Well, say that again.
The Underground Railroad really wasn't underground, and it really wasn't a railroad. Underground is a code word for meaning that coming to some passengers that's coming to the next station, and I need to make sure they get on the next, make it to the next depot. You can have a conversation right out here. Slave catchers could be right around them and not know what they're talking about. They having a conversation about helping black people escape from slavery. The slave catchers are there, the patty rollers are there, the sheriffs are there, and everybody thinks they're talking about railroad.
So it's like a code?
It's a code, yep. It's a coded language.
You said there was a station master and
Yep.
a conductor.
The conductor.
That would be like an example.
A conductor is a person that takes a person from one place to another. Harriet Tubman is the most famous conductor.
Right. We don't know when he mentioned Detroit.
George Dolison is a conductor.
Also, he was a station master.
He's both. He's doing both.
So he was a conductor and
He takes people from one place to another.
what was the other?
Station master. They run a particular station. They don't take people from one place to another, but they're there to receive people and take care of them while they're under their care and then send them to the next spot.